Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? So, y'all are probably, probably wondering why I'm going live twice in one night. Well, I, I went, I went live earlier, and, and I talked about a subject that I feel is I feel it's a very important subject to discuss, and and honestly, I feel like I didn't really get to elaborate my feelings on that subject as well as I could have because I had a couple of distractions, and I feel like you guys, as my listeners, and me having appreciation towards you for being listeners and loyal listeners, that you were cheated out of getting the best possible insight from me on that subject. And so I'm gonna give it another whirl um, just to be just so I feel better about it. When I go to bed tonight, and 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 realizing too, I went back and listened to it a little bit because honestly, I really wasn't happy with how it turned out. Um, um, Sorry, this is anyway. Sorry about that. I really wasn't happy with how it turned out in the first place. You know, I think you guys deserve a little bit more attention from me and the subject that I'm addressing, and for me to be more attentive of that. So, um, and I went to the gym. I worked out. I feel a lot better. I ate. Well, I haven't eaten yet. I ate before I actually went on. But I'm I felt as though we were kind of rudely interrupted and cheated out of time together, and I timed it kind of bad too because I needed to still take care of a few things. I usually like to be in my comfort zone and be sitting here already done with my day, and the next thing that I do after I stop talking to you guys is I'll either watch a movie or but I'm not really doing anything. I'm not really doing anything that's important that I feel like I'm I'm not completing before my day is over. Um, so what's up, Doodlebug, Eric G? Good to see you guys back. Space Monster 61, welcome. Uh, so I and I know it's late, and I felt kind of inspired to come back on too, because I just finished watching. I caught the very end of D Wop's live. I didn't realize he was live, and I caught the very end of it. Um, and he was making a beautiful point. He closed with such a beautiful point um, about how we should be as a society at this point. We should feel comfortable. Like if you're close to somebody, let them know how important they are to you and how much you appreciate them. That he made the point we should be able to feel comfortable knocking on somebody's door and saying hello, just like the good old days, and asking for help if we need help. Um, we should you know. And I think about that all the time. I think about all that all the time. So. Um, And yes, Michelle. Hey, thank you. Yeah, I had a great workout actually. My boy Sean, who I interviewed here, he was there, and we threw the football around a little bit too. Me, him, and his son. That was fun. Um, so, but I think it's beautiful that I think it's beautiful that that because you start to you wonder these things and you think about these things and you don't really like to talk about it all the time. But when you hear somebody else that you respect say the things that you're thinking, it's a comforting feeling. It's a very comforting feeling. And when I was listening to what I did earlier, and looking at the chat, because when I'm talking, if I look too much at the chat, then I get distracted. But looking at the chat, I think that I didn't realize that that there were so many people who struggle with addiction and are in recovery. And I even got comments like my friend Amber. I'm only discussing that because she's actually very open about it. But she's a shining example of somebody who's in recovery, has stuck with it, and had some real bad struggles before, and now she's a dance instructor, and she's a single mom, and she has her little channel, and it's more of a it's more of a drama channel, so I'm not real into it. but but she has she has a lot of subs, and there's people who like it and people get into it, and she seems to be very good at it. But I do, but I respect her so much as a person. um, and we're actually old friends, when I lived in the Atlanta area, and she the adversity that she's overcome, because that's the thing is when you struggle with addiction, and you're doing whatever it takes or whatever you have to do to recover from it. First of all, that's a nonstop thing. You're always doing that. You're on. You put yourself on a path to self improvement. You're always on that path. So every day is the same struggle, and it doesn't get easier. You just get better at it because you get used to it. Um, and so who when there are people who genuinely struggle with these things, with these demons, um, and they've found their own way to suppress them or keep those demons uh, sedated. Those are the people that I have the most respect for. And it's not like I'm tooting my own horn. It's partly because I can relate to them because I get that struggle. I do that every day myself. But most of the time, there are people who have not gone through that. They can't understand that. They can't understand that. It's a different kind of struggle. It's a different kind of struggle to be driven naturally and then succeed all throughout your life because you push yourself. I'm not taking that away from people. I'm not sitting there saying, oh, well, they're privileged and blah, blah, blah. That's a bunch of bullshit because you had to do well in school and you had to want to do well in school and you had to have a future envisioned for yourself. And I was not one of those people. And my brother was. I lived right with it, you know. And his life he's a great person. He's probably my favorite person on earth. And the person that I respect most in this world is my brother, my older brother. And he's 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 doing it right. He's always done it right. And and he had fun in his youth too. I mean, he went to college, you know what I'm saying? Who doesn't go to college and have a good time? But he always had it together, you know? But we grew up in the same house, dude. We grew up under the same circumstances. So he had the same struggles I did. He just naturally dealt with them better earlier on. Um, so I'm not saying it's not one struggle is harder than the other struggle. I'm saying that it's a different kind of struggle. Um, it's a very different kind of struggle. It's really, walking along the edge of a skyscraper and then deciding I'm not doing that anymore. um, and it's kind of crazy. Uh, Let me say hi to a bunch of people here. Um, Chris T, what's up, dude? Uh, Chrissy R, how we doing? Star Set, how's it going? Let me see what does. Yeah, it's funny, man. I'm looking at if I'm understanding what's happening in this chat here. Yeah, it's yo. Okay, so Space Monster, you're saying you lost your sister a year ago to her addiction. It is tough to reflect today. And hey, that's another touchy subject right there. Let me go ahead and elaborate that on that a little bit. Um, and I appreciate that. I see that you're saying this. Will's discussion is tough to listen to, but it's also good. Thank you. And I don't want to. I don't want to come off in the slightest bit disrespectful to anybody who's ever had this happen to them, because and it's hard for me to say so because it's just in theory. Um, but my feelings of someone who loses their life to addiction, that is, to me, personally, in theory, it is a form of suicide. And I talked about suicide on this channel before, and I talked about how I feel, first of all, anybody who loses their life to an addiction, they're 100% accountable and they're 100% responsible, just like if they committed suicide, just like if they put a gun in their mouth and pulled the trigger and ate a bullet. I'm telling you, that's how I feel about it, and I'm sorry if that offends anyone. I do apologize. That's not my intention. But these things, and I've talked about my feelings on suicide, and and correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody in the chat besides Space Monster, um, who's lost somebody to addiction, I feel like, just like I feel like when somebody close to us commits suicide, they think that they're killing the pain, that they're ending the pain. That pain, in my opinion, is, and I'm not a scientist and I'm not religious, but I do understand the concept of energy, and I believe that pain is an energy, and it just takes on a different form and it finds something else to latch onto. There's no way to kill that pain. There's only a way to manage it to where you make it work for you, and then you naturally die with it, living your life. That's the best chance you've got of beating that pain. Because when you murder yourself, you're not taking that pain with you and you're not ending it. What you're doing is you're leaving that pain onto your loved ones. And now they have to live with that pain for the rest of their lives. And that's selfish, and it's immoral. So, um, if you're having a if you're struggling with addiction and you have enough sense to actually see yourself either hurting yourself on purpose, or you see yourself heading towards prison or a coffin, then you owe it to your loved ones to get clean, to take the right steps. You owe it to them. But you owe it to them. What you owe to them is doing it for yourself. Because it's no good if you don't do it for yourself. Your loved ones love you because they want to see you thrive. They want to see you grow. They want to see you be the best person that you can be. They want you to be that light they see in your eyes. That's all our loved ones want from us. See, Chris T, I respect your comment. I'm going to read it out loud here. Not everybody is able to overcome those dark feelings or deep draw to numb. It is trying to end the pain for themselves either way. I get that. I'm not saying I don't get that. What I'm saying is, I think that's an excuse. And a lot of people aren't ready to hear that, man. Again, I'm telling you, one thing that I'm real big on is accountability. And we need to start holding ourselves accountable for our own actions, and we need to stop making ourselves out to be victims of circumstances and of other people. We are in full control of how we let these situations affect us in the long term. I'm not saying an immediate reaction. I'm saying in the long term, in the grand scheme of of each and every one of our lives. That is our that is on us. It's completely on us individually, as people, as individuals. It is up to us. So, Chrissy, you saying your son has been clean 3 years now, and unfortunately, it took going to jail and looking at prison. Yeah, and that's another reason why this justice system, we have to believe in this justice system. It's not perfect. It's not fucking perfect. It's far from perfect. But it does get people straight. It does rehabilitate. Even if just the fear of going to prison is enough to get somebody to wake up. But that person has to do that on their own, because there's a lot of people out there with big problems and they don't have anybody out there to support them. They don't have anybody. It got to a point where I had to realize it's not on anybody that I know. It's not their problem. This isn't fair to them to burden them with my shit. They're struggling with their own shit. Let me see, Amy. You're saying, Chris T, call a friend, call a stranger, call 911, scream, beg, whatever. The same energy it takes to end your life, desperation can be used to reach out and people listen. That is absolutely 100% true. But people will stop listening if you don't show the initiative and you're not taking any accountability. I promise you that. I promise you that. You got to be ready to make changes. You got to be ready to put in the work. There's no other way around it. There's no other way around it. So I don't respect those who commit suicide. I just don't. I respect their families and I respect their loved ones, but once you take yourself out, the bottom line is you're a murderer. Y'all know how I feel about murderers. You know how we all feel about murderers, right? So, you don't get to cheat yourself. You don't, just because it's your life. It's not just your life. That's the thing. If you have people in your life, if you have people within your environment, those people are connected to you to a certain degree, on a certain level, and you owe it to them, whether you like it or not. You owe it to them to do the best you can and be the best person you can be, because they're going to be affected. They're going to be affected. Those people are a part of you. Whether you like it or not, those people are a part of you. And yeah, it's a waste, man. Let me follow up with Space Monster here. Space Monster, you're saying my sister had pain, and I think that she was unable to look at herself without the drugs and alcohol. She didn't know how she could cope with the reality of her past life and what she had done. Yeah, I get it, man. I totally, totally get it. That's exactly what I was saying. That's exactly what I believe. Well, that's exactly what the root of my addiction was. My addiction was the pain that I was trying to cover up. I was just an angry person. I was just upset all the time. And I was depressed. I'm still depressed. And I still get anxiety. But I just found a more productive way to deal with it. And it's funny. Somebody sorry about that. A lot of activity in the chat here, and normally, and like I said, the last time I did this, I was trying to make a lot of points, and I wasn't paying a lot of attention to the chat. But I feel like this subject, I want to give as much attention to the chat as I can. So I apologize for those who are replaying this and listening to it later with the dead air. But I really want to give everyone in my chat as much attention as I can right now, because this is a very, very sensitive subject and people have very strong feelings about it, because this affects almost everyone to some degree or another, whether it's them or whether it's a loved one. So it's a difficult thing. Yeah, it's like the author of the letter that I read. When she was explaining, and I'm still addressing Space Monster here. Um, and her last comment, uh, in this letter, she's saying how she was looking at herself in the mirror after being taunted and after being ridiculed and belittled by her friends who looked down on her because they were straight friends and they made fun of her for being who she was. And and I'm guessing they did it out of love, to a certain degree. At least one of them was, I'm sure. Um, so I and then her saying that she was looking in the mirror the next day and seeing nothing but a void, like she was looking into a skeleton. Her eyes, the darkness of her eyes were just like a void, and the light was gone from them. And that's actually what would happen to me on cocaine. Um, I would when I felt like just a living, breathing thing on 1%. That's what I felt like, just at 1%, useless, no, no care, no nothing. I had no soul. Um, and that was the price of not feeling the pain that I was feeling too. Uh, but I decided I didn't want to give up the good side of myself in order to suppress the bad side. I'm working every single day to try to find a way to make the good side of myself overcome the bad side of myself. And it's a struggle, man. It's a constant struggle. It's a constant struggle. I'm not taking away from that, but to say that some people just aren't strong enough, I just disagree. I disagree. I think everybody has the strength to 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 self improve. You know, everybody. It's no different than physical exercise. What you do is you start off with small weights, man. You start off with a little bit of weight, you gain a little strength, and then you move up. And then move on to heavier weights as you go on, man. And heavier weights. You set a goal for yourself doing cardio. Well, I'm going to do this many miles. Well, I did this many miles. I think I got 5 more miles in me. I'm going to do that next time. And yeah, Michelle, I know it's so fucking hard. It's so hard. I get it. But it can be done. So to sit there and say, "Oh, I'm too weak," to me that's just somebody making excuses. That's somebody making excuses, not willing to put in the work. Some people, yeah, they're weaker than others and they're going to have to put in, but guess what? They're going to have to put in more work. That's just the way life is. Some of us are stronger than others. Some of us are better looking than others. Some of us are funnier than others. Some of us are smarter than others. It's just the way that shit is. There's no sense in being pissed off at the world because that's how it is. It just is. So you learn to live with it, and you learn to manage yourself and conduct yourself accordingly based on these facts. That's what you do. But you do it slow. You do it fucking slow. Do what you gotta do. Yeah, Starset, man, I hear you. So let me read this one. Starset, you're saying, I spent many years being used due to my friend's addiction. I realized that they I realized they had to want to get clean. Hardest thing I had to do was step back. Yeah, that's it. That's absolutely right. Because an addict, there's a point in to an addiction where they're going to take advantage. Who anybody who enables them, they're going to take advantage of being enabled. And at that point, you're just somebody who's feeding their addiction. And that's when you have to be the loved one who says, I can't do this anymore. I can't do it. I love you, but and you're probably going to lash out and you're going to hate me and you're going to convince yourself that the reason why I'm doing it is because I'm not generous to you anymore, or whatever. But you're I'm at peace with this at this point. It's hard, but I got to do it. I know this is the right decision. Yeah, yeah, Michelle, you're right. It fucking sucks when depression or anxiety takes over and makes you doubt yourself and your ability too. That's exactly what depression and anxiety does. That's exactly what it does. The trick is to not let it do that. And that's not easy. I say it like it's easy. It's not. Like, it's not easy at all, but it takes one small step towards another smaller, to a slightly bigger step, and then so on and so forth. Moving forward, building yourself up. And you got to start small. And you see such a long road ahead of you that it makes you discouraged, and you just want to fucking just sit there. But you're not going to get to the other end unless you start walking. There's no way around it. You just got to do it. Right, yeah, Doodlebug. That's interesting. You're saying the anxiety that you live with to this day didn't rear its head until a solid 2 years after your sobriety. That's that's real, man. I can totally see that being the case. I can totally understand that. Um, it's it, you're so concerned with fucking yourself up and having a good time and running away from it, you don't even realize that it's there. That's the hardest part. The hardest part is making that self realization, you know, and then realizing that there's some shit going on in me that needs to be addressed, that needs to be worked on, and and getting banged up and having a good time is not the answer to, it's a temporary, it's not even a temporary solution, it's a temporary remedy, but it's by no means a solution. Yeah, one foot in front of the other, Michelle. One foot in front of the other. So I'm gonna switch gears for a second here, and I'm gonna tell you guys. I couldn't wait actually when this happened to tell you guys, and I haven't had a chance to. Um, this thing that happened to me this week. Uh, I as you guys know, I work at a gym, and there's this guy that comes in all the time, and he has a membership. He scans his card, whatever, and he has a membership, and he's a really cool dude. And he always smiles, and he's like, "Hey, what's up, man?" But the thing is, he straight up looks homeless. He straight up looks homeless. Hold on, I think I'm buffering, guys. Can you guys hear me right now? Yeah, Charlie's granny. I am the same guy that was on with Jay last night. Yes. I don't think anybody can hear me though, 'cause I'm not getting any internet. Weird. Ah, fuck. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with this shit.